I would like to call the Design Review Board for Wednesday, November 8th into call to order. This is a regular Design Review Board meeting of the City of Milton. I am Ken Morlick. This is a 7-member board appointed by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations. Design Review Board reviews plans and makes recommendations to Community Development Director for the developments, except single-family residential, in the form-based code and overlay districts. In addition, Design Review Board approves or denies demolition requests and makes recommendations to the Board of Zoning of Appeals on variances. So right now, before we get started, I would like to have everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, great. Moving on, I would like to introduce our staff and board members.
Robin McDonald.
Jackie Lim.
Mary Crunk.
Casey Robinson, Parkbrook Trace.
Reed Casey, Bethany Road.
Ken Morlick, Hipworth Road.
Doug Haney, Bethany Way.
Great. First, I'm going to call for the approval and amendment of tonight's agenda, Wednesday, November 8th.
Make
Kim.
a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Great.
I'll second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Oh, I forgot. I wanted to add something to old business, so I do need to do that right now. I wanted to do a follow-up on the demolition at the house on Arnold Mill.
Okay.
Just to get an update on that because we had a question about it last time. So just want to see what's happening.
Yeah, please make a motion to
I'll
amend.
make a motion to add to old business a review of the demolition, the current, what's happening right now with the demolition at
13325 Arnold. Mill.
13325 Arnold Mill Road.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So with this addition to tonight's agenda, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. All right. Now, I would like to get approval or amendments to the agenda. We've got two, actually. One from, we'll do the first one. Can I get a motion for the amendments to the Design Review Board October the 3rd hearing? Any amendments or motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the October 3rd meeting.
A second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. The next, I would like to call for a motion for the amended reports for minutes, for Tuesday, September 12th Design Review Board meeting.
Make a motion to approve the amended minutes from September 12th.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Great. Okay. So next, we're going to move on to demolition of structures, and that is going to be 5A 2335 Bethany Bend. Jackie, would you go ahead and give us staff's report, please?
Good evening, everyone. All right, our first demo case for tonight is 2335 Bethany Bend. The size of this property is 4.29 acres, zone agricultural. The existing use of this property is residential. The house was built in 1965. The applicant requests to demolish the existing house, shed, block wall, and then gravel driveway. Here's the aerial view of the property. It's close to the roundabout, closer to intersection of Hopewell and Bethany Bend. Here's the site plan. Show you a closer look of the location of structures to be demolished. So as mentioned earlier, the gravel, block wall, house, and shed will be demolished. Sharing some structure photos of the existing house. Shed, block wall, and of course the driveway. Here's some adjacent properties photos, just to give you the look and feel of that area. And here's some supplemental information. No trees will be disturbed during the demo process. The existing shed and block wall will be removed by hand, so to preserve the trees. This site does not contain wetlands, and a minor plat was approved by the city on October 3rd, 2023, and recorded with the clerk of the Superior Court of Fulton County. So this shows just the subdivision of that one parcel into three lots. And of course, we do our due as historic property, and for this case, it's not. So therefore, staff recommends approval of the demo with the following conditions: that they have to complete the demo permit application. They have to show 3 safe fence and self fence, and any disturbed and exposed soil must be level and permanently grass. Any question for staff?
Question.
Okay.
There's a stone walk on the plan. Is that also,
Stone, you mean the block wall, which is?
see, on the
Said everything, didn't
the larger plan, there's a little stone wall on there. I'll show you, or stone path. The other question while I'm looking for that is, there's a basement. I would assume the basement gets filled in.
Yeah, yeah. We'll fill it out.
This was stone walk, so that also, that's in front of the
Yes,
house?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's within that limits of disturbance.
got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. And we have the applicant here to just provide some information on what's the plan after the demolition.
Great. Can the applicant please come forward?
Good evening, Drew Clow with Waterford Homes. Yes, we've submitted the request for demolition of these structures and had a lot subdivision plat approved and recorded. The intent is to build 3 single-family homes on the 3 newly created lots.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant, for staff? No? Okay. I'll open public comment. Do we have any support or opposition?
No, our support is just one,
Okay.
the applicant himself.
So then I will, seeing none, I will close the public comment and open for any discussion. Seeing none. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make, oh, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 5A, 2335 Bethany Bend.
A second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congrats. Okay, moving on. Tonight, 5B, demolition of structures, 3260 Hambry Road. Jackie, if you would please.
Okay, our second demo for tonight is 3260 Hamby Road. The size is 20.24 acres. It's zoned agricultural. The year of this house was built in 1935, and the applicant requests to demolish the existing house, shed, and barn. Here's the aerial view of the property. Site plan that was submitted to the city. And a closer look of the location of structures to be demolished. House, the barn, the well, and then the locations of sheds, which were not originally shown on the site plan submitted. Show you the existing condition of the house. Some adjacent property photos. So again, no trees will be disturbed during the demo process. A portion of this property has been identified as a flood zone area. Shed 1 to remain, but shed 2 to be demolished. Again, these are the 2 sheds that were not included in the site plan. But after speaking with the applicant, he informed me that he will be demolishing shed 2 and remain for, shed 1 will remain for now. This property is not listed as historical property. Staff recommends approval with demolition per the site plan with the following conditions: that the demo permit submitted will have an updated site plan that shows the 2 sheds on the property. And if not used, septic tank and well must be demolished or capped properly. Of course, the standard, which is show 3 safe fence, self-fence, and then level and grass the disturbed area. Questions for staff at this point?
Okay, seeing no questions for staff, can we ask the applicant to come up at this time? Thank you, Jackie.
Evening.
Good evening.
John DeLay, landowner. I intend to build a permanent residence there.
Okay, that's it?
Yeah,
it.
he's
Short and sweet.
tracking us up, yeah.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right, I'll open public comment.
We have none.
Okay, great. I'll close public comment. Seeing none, then I will, or any open discussion from the board?
I did have one question about what you were wanting to do with the property once that's demolished.
Yeah, the intent would be, the pond levee needs to be remediated. There's some trees you couldn't hug, growing on it, and eventually those roots will make it fail. So I'll end up having to have those cut. Jackie's seen a couple of preliminary drawings, close friends with one of the principals at Paulson Mitchell, so he's kind of sketched it up. I've already had a tree survey done, so I'll submit that after the demo permit and everything, and I'll, after remediating the pond levee, I'll about double its width, so it can be a driveway to behind, because from the floodplain to where that house is sitting is too close to the road now. So there's some really nice large ponderosa pines on the north side of this property, and so the best place to put the house is it was probably timbered long ago, so that on the back side of the pond, none of the timber's even the size of your wrist.
Okay,
That sounds good.
any more discussion?
Nope.
All right, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 5B 32.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Very good.
the only thing I would add to that would be its demolition of existing house and barn and shed number 2. I would add that to that because you're going to leave shed
Yeah.
1, right?
Really, the only reason that one shed is standing is I put some, like, I have a sprayer for the tractor, and it keeps the sun from rotting the hoses on it. That's literally it. And once I have a permanent structure behind it and a barn behind it, I'll take it down. I won't leave it. It's actually closer to the road than the house is, so none of them will stay. It'll all be
Okay.
new.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve 5B demolition of 3260 Hamby Road with the addition of the existing house, barn, and shed.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. 5C, 15595 Thompson Road and 15601 Thompson Road. Can we, Jackie, please?
Thank you. Our last demo case is located at 15595 and 15601 Thompson Road. The size of this property is 1 acre per lot, zone AG1. There's an existing house that was built in 1963. The applicant would like to demolish the existing house, multiple sheds, and asphalt driveway. Here's the aerial or satellite map of the property. Site plan. I don't know if you can see it, but the structure, the house is located here with primarily most of the sheds are located in lot 1 and lot 2. So just the location of structures. There's the existing conditions of the house. The asphalt driveway that will be demolished. Here are the 4 sheds that I found during my site visit. So there's 4 total just for lot 1 and lot 2. Adjacent properties in that area. Some supplemental information. Again, they've identified several trees to be removed, but of course, arborists will have to review that prior to removing those trees. This property is now located in flood zone area, and 3 additional sheds found in lot number 3 are not shown on the site plan. But upon speaking with the applicant during the site visit, he indicated that all of those structures will be demolished as well. And I'm going to show you those remaining structures in that lot. Of course, lastly, this house was not listed as a historic property. So staff recommends approval with the following conditions. To provide a demo permit, during the demo permit application, the applicant must provide updated site plan that shows those additional sheds. And of course, if not used, septic tank and well must be demolished or capped properly. And of course, our standard conditions about trees and the leveling and grassing the disturbed area. Any questions for staff?
One question on this plan. The question is, most of the groups have been delineated on what's going to be removed. There's, I know it says remove drive, and then there's another drive that I didn't know if that is also going to be removed. It says prop drive.
Oh, that's the proposed driveway.
Got it. So that's going to be what comes in.
Once they demolish it, they're
Got
gonna build that driveway
Okay.
to be shared by 3
Thank you.
lots. Yep. Okay,
I have a question, Jackie.
okay.
So just to be formal, we're at 15595 Thompson Road and 15601, but then you also said that we've located sheds additionally on 15605.
Yes, that's correct.
So can we include in that, in the motion, whether it's a, approval or denial, can we include that we approve or deny the demolition and add that additional
Okay.
property to this?
Well, my only concern is when we advertise this, we only advertise for those 2 lots. So
Okay.
we didn't know about the 3rd lot having those properties,
Okay.
the shed. So is this something that they have to come back for the demo of the rest of the property?
I mean, if the addresses were
Advertised.
advertised.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So
I
if
don't
we-
see a problem with it, that, as long as the appropriate advertising of the addresses were done.
well, the only
the
thing with that
demolition.
advertisement is we only advertise the 2 lots.
Oh, okay.
Third lot, we're not.
Okay, well then the third lot will need to come back. I'm sorry, I thought you'd advertise all three, but not all the details of the third.
Because when the site
Give
plan
staff
was
approval.
presented to us, there's only
advertised.
showing the structures in
Yeah.
lot 1 and lot 2.
Fast track it by giving them approval.
They'll have to
Ahead
come
of time?
back for that third lot.
So that's a great question.
Okay.
Can we include that? You guys just advertise it, and then since we understand the logistics of this, right? This, that
Right.
we're going to be building, I'm assuming we'll speak with the applicant, but
Mhm.
3 new single-family residences. If we go ahead and include that tonight, obviously you have to advertise, but then can that just
No,
We're
you
trying to
can't, you
streamline
can't
the
make an
process a
action
little
on,
bit.
you
Can I ask it
can't make
another
an
way?
action on something that hasn't been
Yeah, maybe
advertised
Doug
properly.
can ask it.
Can I ask it a different way? Can we go ahead and approve what's been presented
Yes.
and then preemptively approve after it's been advertised the other one and do it separately?
No. I mean, it just needs to come back for the next month to be approved.
And I think the applicant is only going to use lot 1 to build, I believe, the primary structure, the house. So, I mean, lot 3 can wait, maybe in the future, if they're ready to build something up there and then
Okay.
demolish.
So it's not
then
going
it's
to,
something, yeah.
who's the owner? You're nodding. So that doesn't totally, sorry. I'm
Yeah, actually,
I'm jumping ahead.
let's do this.
Okay.
So we've asked that question. We'll see. How about, did you have any further?
No,
Report?
that's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So then how about we have the applicant come on up here and just tell us a little bit about the project, and then maybe we have some questions for you as well. So.
Good evening. My name is Ovidio Niquara. I'm the applicant. So pretty much the address originally was 15605 Thompson Road. So just one property, and we went through the process where we divided in three lots. Lot number 1 they're referring to, that's the one intentionally I plan on building my own house in there. And that's the one I would start on it. And I actually bought it together with these 2 gentlemen together. So they're gonna build their personal homes on each one of those, but we bought it as an entity like Icon Builders. So, I mean, we're new to this. We don't. So I just want to get to the point where I can clear. I know, like, we got to go to the process of clear the existing house because it's kind of sitting between lot 1 and lot number 2 over there, and the sheds are. I mean, they're sheds, but they're like old chicken coops or somebody. I don't know what the heck somebody did over there, like raise pigs or chickens or something at one time in them. So,
Okay.
I mean, that would work for, but if I'm bringing somebody over there to do demo on the house and everything, I don't want to bring him another time to clear the other sheds. I mean, it's really like, there's no foundation to them. It's like dirt floor. It's just like the shed with the metal, with a tree fall over it. And so I don't know. We would like to move on with the idea of demoing and then
Yeah.
figure our plan of the house and apply for everything else that we need to comes along. So
Okay. Okay. I think we're all on the same page as well. I just we're just trying to make sure we can,
I mean, we
Do
can
this.
turn around the next one, as soon as possible and get it in, and then hopefully you can catch up with the third,
2 months. away.
lot. I mean, we won't keep you, but we
Take 2
can't
months
let
away.
you do it
Yeah,
until
that's
it's
not
been
bad.
properly advertised, so. For the third lot. So you can go ahead and proceed with applying for the actual building permit, demolition permits with the asbestos and all that stuff, get that going. And-
we already done all that.
You've
Like,
already
we got
done
the
that,
house
okay.
inspected for asbestos. There was a well on the property. We got, we covered it, and we got like one of the engineers, like the environmental engineers looking at it, and we got like a certificate that was probably capped. And I think the septic tank was totally cleaned out. Like before you demo, you gotta like clean it out. So we've done it. I mean, we had the property for almost 2 years now, and
Okay.
kind of like slowly moving on it.
Okay.
there's just no other alternative. We
Yeah.
can get it back onto the agenda
I
as
was
fast
I'm
as
just
possible.
I'm trying to kind of help them out, right?
Right,
Is-
well, that's
is
what I was saying.
What
A lot of
constitutes the
people-
shed? Is the shed,
Yeah.
does it, if it doesn't have a foundation, is it technically considered that? Or
It really does
I
not
think
have a
all roads are
foundation.
pointing to, for that 15, 60, or 5 probably having to come back, correct? Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Have to line up a demo for after.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be the January DRB is when it would come back, best case scenario.
Because we have to advertise
45
it and it
days.
requires 30 days. So
So I thought it was being advertised under the original address, 15605 as a whole thing.
no, because it was already platted. So
Yeah,
there's
it wa-
already
yeah, it
three
was.
different, yeah.
But but his application does say, that does have the 3 different parcels on there, correct?
Yes, so the only parcels, because based on the site plan that was given to us,
Understood.
the
Okay,
structures
okay.
was in those lot 1 and lot 2. So we advertise only for those 2 addresses.
Okay, okay. Okay, any more questions for the applicant?
This is just a general question on, I know the arborist is going to come out and look at all the trees because there are specimen trees on here that are going to stay, some that are going to go, but none of that'll happen until the arborist gives the
Yes, that's correct.
approval.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, there's some trees that we would definitely want to save. The
Hmm.
beautiful magnolia and really large oak that we really want to our plan to go around that and be able to save it.
Okay. Okay, so let's take, or can I'll open public comment unless you had anything else. Sure.
As a structure, what is it called? Because it's more like a chain link fence that is around it. It's not actual like 2x4s or wood. It just has a metal roof on some fence.
Mhm.
I mean,
The
That would be a question for
Word.
staff.
I mean, you can bring out the
It means
picture.
Anything with a roof,
It was, I
anything
think
with a
it
roof's
was-
considered.
So these are the structures at third lot.
all
So,
3 of those are on. So there's not just one, there's.
That's
3.
15605?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the third lot.
Needs approval. I mean, needs to go through the process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hate that, but yeah, I don't know there's any way around not having it come back since it wasn't advertised that way. But if you get it on January,
Mhm.
then he can go through the process, get someone teed up mid-January, take it down after it's been approved, and do everything correctly that way, right?
Mhm. Okay.
We can go ahead and approve the other one tonight.
So yeah, I'll close public comment. Any discussion with the board? No? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition for 5C 15595 Thompson Road and 15601 Thompson Road demo.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we were trying, but unfortunately, with the way that Georgia law is we have to have the, this is rather new to us as well, but we have to have the notification. It has to be a certain amount of days. And so in order to kind of follow that protocol, we're doing it. Now, seeing as we see this, I don't feel like, again, there's really going to be much more to have to do on your part other than just to apply for the 15605 Thompson Road. And I think based on our discussion tonight, I don't think you'll have any issue when it does come up in January. So unfortunately, that's kind of the process that we have to go through. But
After the January meeting,
You can go.
which
The
is,
next
which
day
is
you
the,
will.
yeah, the
In a
next
couple
day
days
you can
you
have
can-
machinery
so-
on site ready to
as long
go.
as you have your permit, yeah, your
so
building
can
permit.
you apply for,
Yeah, you can-
I mean,
yeah.
it's not building, I just want to do the demo. I don't want to start building
No, I
yet.
know, but you can go ahead and apply concurrently for the actual building permit to demo So you'll be ready to take it down almost immediately after the meeting.
Like at 8 PM.
Well,
Hey, hey, Jackie,
it'll be
Jack-
dark. I'm not sure if you really want to do that.
Jackie, is the next DRB meeting in January? Is that January 2nd?
Yes, so right now it's the proposed schedule, but right now we're looking at January 2nd.
Okay.
After that, like.
January 3rd. Okay.
Okay. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Okay, moving on. We're going to go to Agenda 6, which is courtesy reviews. 6A, V 23-18, 565 Blue Heron Way. Jackie and Robin, if you guys can,
Well, I'll do it. She's just helping cue it up, but
okay.
I'm the substitute for Michael, so he's still on paternity leave.
Michael had a baby?
Scroll it.
Yeah, Michael,
Not-
I said
not-
paternity,
yes.
yes, yes, they did, what was it? Almost 3 weeks ago, I think, so,
Oh, wow, okay.
yes, little girl, so Caroline, I don't remember her middle name, but, yep. Okay, so, tonight, we have a courtesy review for a requested variance, by Hunter Ham at 565 Blue Heron Way, to reduce the 50-foot minimum rear yard to 6.4 feet for an existing accessory structure playground along the east property line. So this is a aerial of the portion of the subdivision, and the red line shows the specific lot. This is, again, zoned AG1 within the rural Milton overlay district and located in the lake at North Valley. This is the property at 1.37 acres with the usual AG1 setbacks of 60 front, 25 side, and 50 rear. So here you go, the front, and here it's the rear, although this was done and platted a long time ago, but that is what it is. You can see here, here is the location of the playground in blue. The applicant purchased the property in July of 2022, and construction of the playground took place in the fall of 2022. Code enforcement received a call that a newly constructed playground accessory structure did not meet setbacks in October of 22. And then on October 27th, a stop work order was issued. October 27th, as in 2022, was issued by the city code enforcement, as no building permit was submitted for the playground accessory structure. And then almost a year later, the applicant officially submitted their variance application on October 3rd. This is the applicant's letter of appeal. They have received support letters from 575 Blue Heron, 555 Blue Heron, and then Lake at North Valley HOA is in support of the location of it. And then here are the three letters. This is an elevation nicer than my house. I'm sorry. No, not quite, but pretty sophisticated there. So the front elevation of the playhouse. Is that it? Right. No. And then the applicant, as well as their landscape architect, and I believe they've been working with the HOA to come up with a solution for screening it from the road. I think that is the concern that the HOA have. That's why they're in support of it. So this is the play area, and then they're proposing to add additional screening, both closer to it as well as in front of the existing vegetation. So. That's the same thing, okay. Here's some of the types of plantings that are being proposed. I guess I just go this way. This is the color of the timber being used or used. And the roofing type and color and slate. So this is a view to the west, across the street, view to the east, and to the playground as it exists. View to the south, which is toward their pool, and then to the north. And this is the view from street, and then where the green arrow is, that's the approximate location of the existing play structure. More views of the playground. View a backyard from the playground. And then it looks like this is the applicant has proposed to keep this portion of the playground and to remove kind of the appendage that's just like a little rope bridge that goes to it. So that would be their proposed scenario for the variance. So anyway, do you have any questions or I can help answer them?
I have a question.
Sure.
Why is this being considered an accessory structure?
It is because it's accessory. I mean, it's just a structure that, whether it's called an accessory structure or not, it's a structure that is within the setback.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you don't even have to call it accessory. Any kind of structure, there's very few things that can be in the setback. One of them is like a well house. It's a structure that encroaches into the rear setback.
Okay. So if someone wanted a swing set in a rear setback, and I apologize, I'm just, if someone just wanted a swing set or a swinging bench in a rear setback, that would essentially be considered an accessory structure.
Or a structure, yes. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously that happens. I think people do install that type of structure in their yard. And I think a lot of it, if they call us, then we tell them it has to be outside of the setbacks, whatever's appropriate for their location. And obviously there's people that do things on their own and things happen. And then if there's a complaint about it, then we're going to look into it and pursue it. So obviously we're not going around sneaking behind everybody's house looking for.
Yes, no. I
Yeah.
was definitely
So-
not insinuating that.
No.
Okay.
I know you're not. I'm just saying that's just kind of how it works. If you happen to drive down a road or in a subdivision and you see a playground structure that's pretty close, appears to be to the property line, or let's say they have a fence, so obviously that's probably their property line, that's why they exist. I mean, it's just, you'd be surprised what happens. I have a situation right now, somebody built a pool house across their property line. They didn't get a permit. So, I can't explain why people do what they do. So,
Okay. Thank you. Any
Yeah.
questions for staff?
I have a couple questions. So do we not have letters either for or against from the folks on Laurel Grove Drive that actually butt up to that side
No,
of the
we don't,
property?
there's not any, so we don't have any opposition or in support. It's just,
Do we know if they were contacted?
as far as I know, that they have not.
And then we can make a
I mean, I would have to double check. I haven't been working on this case all the way through, but if there was some sort of comment, even if it was indifferent, Michael would include it,
Sure.
so.
Okay.
And they have support from their own HOA, Lake at North Valley.
Right, so I think the line of thinking is if they took it out of the 50-foot, then it would be closer to the street and they don't want to see it.
They don't.
I
But
mean, the HOA as well as probably the adjacent property owners.
in their neighborhood, but the folks on Laurel Grove subdivision.
Right,
may
we haven't
disagree.
heard from them, either in a positive or negative. I mean, we can recommend that they seek out some either support or opposition so that the BZA will be better informed.
Yeah, I would hate for us to go down a path of approving this, and next thing you know, 15460, who's right next to it, they're like, we have a situation like we had with the greenhouse in Six Hills, and someone's like, I see that from my kitchen window all the
Right.
time, right? So we need to,
Well, we just recommended.
Yeah, you're recommending, but
No approval.
a good point,
No
a very
approval.
good point.
We just recommend.
yeah, but I'm saying we can
Yes,
recommend or not recommend, right?
Right. It's a
Okay.
very good point. It's impacts that property owner probably the most. And
Mhm.
obviously they were sent a notice about all the meetings, but again, if there had been any kind of input from them, whether positive, negative, or
Right.
indifferent, we would know. So
Okay. That was all I had.
Okay. Any other questions for staff?
Not for Robin.
No? Okay. Robin, was that the end of your report? I'm sorry.
yes,
Did we
it
cut
is.
you off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, then at this time, I'd like to call the applicant to come up and discuss this a little bit further.
And you could actually ask the applicant as well if he's. so.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Berkeley Bryan, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Hunter Ham, who is the applicant.
Good evening.
Hello.
Okay, any further, anything to add to that, to her report, or?
Yes, I just want to clear up a few items where
Sure.
she was unsure about. So we did mail a letter, the letter where they could either approve or deny or make any sort of feedback to the Laurel Springs, is it Laurel Springs or the
yeah.
road behind? We
Laurel
put it in
Grove.
their mailbox with a return envelope already stamped and included a letter too to give them an idea of what was going on, why they were receiving this letter, and we never received a letter or any sort of response. In that letter that we attached, we also provided the email addresses and phone numbers of the homeowners for that homeowner to contact if they had any additional questions, and never received any response. That neighbor that it backs up to does have a good amount of stuff in their yard. So I would suspect that they don't want to create any issues because they probably aren't following the rules.
I mean, it makes sense, right? If someone's literally objected to that, they'd be right.
Yeah. You don't want to throw stones if you're living in a glass house, right?
Thank you for, yeah.
Yes, so not trying to get anyone in trouble, but I could see why they wouldn't want to say anything either.
Fair enough. Okay.
And we have agreed to do everything that the HOA board has requested of us, and that's in our letter. So including those 5 additional trees, they're the Stevens trees, putting those in for additional screening
Do you have a time frame that you were going to do that?
as soon as possible. We actually had the landscaper reach out to me yesterday and said, when can we start? And I said, well, we got to see if we have approval first. So.
Got it. Okay. Anything else?
And my only question is, who called code enforcement? Do you know?
The HOA.
The HOA did. The
Yes.
HOA of the neighborhood
Blue heron.
Blue Heron. Okay.
That's from my knowledge, yes.
And do you know if this place that was put through the HOA before
It was not.
it was constructed? Okay.
It was not.
Okay. And then I had a question about the stop work order.
Okay.
So the stop work order was October 27th of 2022, right? And this was constructed. So in the time between the stop work order and when they asked for the variance application, so it was almost a year
Mhm.
between those two. I just wanted to confirm that that's,
That is correct.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. And then I do have a question as well, because when you're looking at things that go in setbacks, those are obviously the rules that we have and set up there for a purpose. And it says due to yard sloping, we chose to build on the most level area of our backyard. So this could have been placed in a different area. Is there room to place it in a different area?
Not with the elevation. So if you look at the topography graph,
Right.
this was the most flat area. It could not be placed in another area without significant grading to have to have been done.
Okay.
And so it was the recommendation of the company that built the structure that this would be the safest area to build it without having to do significant grading work to the land.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Did you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. Just that we have agreed and we have the HOA's approval and both of the direct homeowners on either side. Everything that I've submitted. Yep.
Great, okay. So I will open it up for public comment. Do we have some letters of support? Any opposition?
None.
None, okay. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Any discussion with the board?
I just always hate seeing these come through. My neighbor complained on me the hour that ours was finished. Our kids were playing on it, having a good time. And they complained we had to move it 8 feet. We had to take the whole thing down and move it 8 feet. So I just hate to see these. It seems like there needs to be some education with the people putting these up. So I don't know. That seems
Or
like
the company that did it for them.
I mean, it just seems so, we have these happen all the time. The only comment is, eventually kids do stop playing on these things and then they kind of deteriorate and they kind of are unsightly. My kids stopped playing on ours about 2 years after they started using it and just sits there for everybody else to see, including me. So I'm not suggesting any recommendation on this case, but I mean, just something to think about if we did put a time frame on this. You prove it for so long. Obviously kids grow up and these things deteriorate. So anyhow, just food for thought.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
I think also the way that it's built, it is a luxury kids playground. We did not stain it yet because we were told to stop construction. So the stain was the next part, which elongates the life of the wood. But I also think to take into consideration the value of the home and them as homeowners looking at their home and that they wouldn't want a structure that would be deteriorated with how nice their home is. I'm just.
No, understood. Okay. I'll just kind of chime in. I think that, I agree with you. It's really, it's the kids, I guess, that this affects the most. But I do understand that this being such a large and very nice structure, I see it from, I guess the HOA has they have to kind of have, their bylaws and rules and stuff just as much as the city. But seeing as how this is a very elaborate packet, you've gone through a lot of trouble to, put all this together and to get the HOA's approval with these kind of alterations to it. And they were the ones that originally kind of brought this to light. For me, I would think that a recommendation for approval would be something that I recommend. So is there any discussion on that?
Kind of struggling a little bit with it because it is so close. It's 50-foot minimum, but it's I mean, it is truly right in there. It's not a little bit in there. It's a lot in there. And because we don't know, we don't have feedback from that other property owner, I just feel for myself, and I understand, I have kids, I understand how that is, but I know that we do have, but we're a little bit of a, going into it, I might say, yeah, a little bit, but I feel like it's a lot into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined, and obviously we just make a recommendation.
Correct.
On this.
Correct.
They're going to do their thing. But I would have a little bit of a hard time saying it was a hardship because it could be put on another area. It does have to be sloped, graded. But a lot of times when we do structures and things, we do have to do things to our properties. It may not fit naturally in one place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to, I think it's a little bit too much into it.
I think, it's a good point you brought up, though. I did look at, and they did provide a very good, the landscape architect in here is just, you obviously got a dry creek bed. They've got the topography of that as well, too. And so I kind of agree with you as much on how much of a hardship is that with the grading. However, when you did state that the HOA just didn't want to see it from the street, I can't really see it from the pictures from the street. I can't imagine that if they were to put that really in the side yard, which to me is really kind of the only spot, that it could be placed without having to go through a variance, that the HOA would probably not be supportive of that as well. So I feel like, yes, it's kind of asked for forgiveness instead of permission. So that's just kind of my take on that one. But yeah, it is.
My other, just going back to the house that's on the backside of the property in Laurel Grove, part of why these setbacks are there to protect the neighbors. And while the neighbor who lives behind them might have a bunch of junk in their yard and be okay with it, they're not always going to be the people who live there, and someone else is going to be there after. And if they've got, something built right up against their property line, is that going to diminish the value
Of that home.
of that next homeowner? I don't know.
So maybe that's a good point, is maybe if you're able to get some photos of the neighbor behind, showing that they may have some structures.
Yeah. And again, we don't approve or deny this. I know BZA is going to push back hard because it is,
Far.
to Mary's
Like that.
point, it is so far
Yeah.
into that setback.
Certainly, if you get letters of approval, from the neighbors behind, that would be a good thing for you.
As we might be seeing the neighbors from behind coming from.
Oh, you will.
Okay, so I guess we don't need to make a motion or anything like that. We're just simply making, or do we need to make a motion for approval or denial for the?
It's similar when we do with our final reviews where the board makes a motion to recommend, to BZA, whether approval, denial, or with conditions or feedback.
We don't have
Yeah.
to.
Makes it more specific about exactly what you all are thinking instead of, I think it helps the BZA if you make specific recommendations or points to the recommendations or requests. So it, that helps the BZA because they look to you for this input.
Yeah,
from a
I think,
design perspective.
remember our swim lane is the aesthetics of this thing. And are we good with how it looks and how they're buffering it from the neighborhood with the trees and the canopy and all of that stuff? And I think from that perspective, we're good with it. It's BZA that has to decide whether or not the variance should be approved for it being that far deep in the setback.
So, if somebody wants to make a motion and try to summarize what you're thinking as a whole, as a board, and it just makes it easier for Michael to be able to present it to the BZA. So as a recommendation. For input.
So I would say in regards to the additional screen plantings, the roofing that has been approved, basically the HOA's recommendations for all
Remediation of their issue.
correct, yes, of what is currently there and and the plantings to screen that for me, I would be in approval of the aesthetics and the architecturals of the structure. Is that kind of what you're looking for,
Yeah.
Robin? Okay. So then I guess any open discussion on that?
Sure.
Did the HOA say anything about if this structure were moved to the side yard, that would not be, I know they want it screened, but I think it would make a stronger case if the HOA said, you cannot put it in that side yard.
There was no discussion about moving it.
Okay.
And we haven't even explored the option of moving it. And if moving it to a different area, even with grading, would still be seen from the street. They were more concerned, honestly, with just the aesthetics and wanting a certain roof, a certain staining,
Right.
and the additional attachment being removed, but the main structure remaining where it is. That was their request.
They don't have the setback thing to worry about, fortunately. Yeah, okay.
Right, they're concerned about
How's it look?
how's it look.
And the city
As
is,
we are to comment on that, the city is concerned about the location.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so
motion.
comment on that? Yeah, me personally, I think the recommendations from the HOA as far as removing the connector, the roof, the stain color is sufficient, and the additional plantings as far as the architectural and the aesthetics of it is something that I would approve of. I would recommend approval for. Comments?
I can second that approval.
Okay.
If it needs one, but I don't think it's just, I think they've done the work for our support, but y'all probably agree that they're probably getting a lot more pushback from the next board they got to go to.
Right.
So with the steps that they're going through to try and conceal it and cover it up, I think they're doing fine in that direction. But again, aesthetically pleasing for us.
Right. And I think we also have to look at, it says courtesy review, but the bullet is to reduce the 50-foot minimum.
Right.
They're not necessarily saying to us, what do you
What's it
think
look
about
like?
the structure and what it looks like? This is what's on our,
Okay.
I don't know where we go from there.
I don't either.
Not required to make an approval here.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you can just, even if you don't want to make a motion and just whatever.
No comment. I mean, why do we have to make an approval on this?
Well, I mean, they're seeking your input about the design aspects of it. So what the chair had expressed, if that's what you all say, then we'll just pass that on to the
Yeah,
BZA.
it's great.
Okay. So, yeah, I think,
I think sometimes in the past, different people have talked about different things, and it's very difficult for us to summarize and to provide to the BZA what was the input. It could, you know what I mean, as a board together. And I think that's what they're seeking, is your expertise and your experience in seeing these different scenarios and giving input. So.
It's okay. I'll make a motion that we approve, that we recommend 6A V2318 to BZA as it has adequately addressed the concerns of the HOA from a design and aesthetic standpoint, with the trees and bushes and everything else that's to be planted to ensure that it's hidden. Barring no objection from the folks that live in Laurel Grove subdivision. And I think that's the extent of it, because the rest of it is BZA's
correct.
role.
So I will second that.
Okay.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cool. Good luck.
So I think.
Good
what
luck.
I would recommend that if you can get letters from those other folks, because BZA is gonna be tough on that approval.
So I think that's a great example, just, it'll help the process, like that motion, those statements. And so it's succinct and clear and unified. And that way the BZA can feel confident in what your input is. That's all that is.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Only took me 2 years to get there.
Okay, good luck. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to move on to final reviews tonight. Final reviews 7A, the Reliant Building. We'll look at concurrently 7A and 7B, Reliant Building, 860 Mayfield Road. This meeting was deferred from October's DRB meeting. Jackie, if you will, please.
All right, I'm just going to go over one more time. We presented it last month, but I just want to hit some of the key points. So it's located at 860 Mayfield Road. The size of this property, the total lot is 0.742 acres. It's zoned T4 open within the Crabapple form-based code. Its existing use is commercial. So the request is for DRB to review the site and landscape plan, as well as the building and architecture plan of the proposed new building. So here's the satellite view or the location of the property. It's close to Mayfield, Heritage Walk, Charlotte Drive roundabout. Here's the site plan to show the ground floor. And the site plan that shows the basement garage. Let's just look at the landscape plan. The applicant has outlined all the different types of shrub and ground covers, as well as proposed trees to be planted. Just showing you the tree canopy coverage. Here's existing conditions, just to show you again the location of the building, where the parking areas are, and then as well as how to get in and out of that site. The proposed shared dumpster is actually not going to be located in the actual proposed site. Showing some imagery of where that proposed building is going to be built. Here's the view of the building from east elevation. So looking at the east, you will see, I believe this is Taylor Morrison Development. And here's the view from the west elevation of the building. View from the south elevation of the building, which is the Milton Library. And then lastly, view from the north elevation of the building. That's another development behind it. Just take a closer look of the different properties, buildings in that area, just to give you the look and feel of Crabapple. So let's talk about the proposed building renderings. In your screen, that is the southeast elevation. It's the southwest elevation. Northeast elevation. Here's the proposed exterior materials. We have two types of paint, the brick, and of course, some lightings and railing. And we'll go over each of that when we do the analysis. All right, for site and landscape, there's three different things I'd like to talk about: the parking lot, landscaping, and lighting standards. So currently, per the site plan, we have 59 parking spaces total, and that includes the 2 ADA spaces and then the 15 spaces in the basement garage. As for the landscaping, the plan also calls out different types of shrubs, ground cover, ornament plants, and trees. Then as far as the lighting standards, in the existing sidewalk, lighting along Mayfield and Mayfield Road and Heritage Walk, you'll see our standard type of lighting. There's actually the first one is the Washington Post and Granville fixture. And then Lumic Domus, which is that one with the shepherd hook. For the building form, it conforms with the code. It's a 3-story building. The proposed height was 42 feet. That excludes the garage and the rooftop utility room. Each floor, the total height from ground floor to the ceiling is 14 feet. And I've also included the height of that utility room, which is 10 feet. So for architecture, let's look at facade composition. The principal entrance of the building is articulated. Windows are vertically shaped. The height is greater than the width. And there's at least 15% of the total facade area are windows and doors. And of course, they show, facade shows visual division between each story. As far as materials, we have masonry brick veneer, natural limestone water table, cornices made of glass reinforced fiber, and then we have painted fiber cement panel and casing, which is, you can't see it. That's the utility room on the rooftop. To summarize facade colors, we have brown brick or tan and beige limestone, and we also have gray iron ore cornice. And here's the components of the roof. It's flat roof, and there's a utility room, but it's screened by a wall. And that wall is painted with a nebulous white paint color. As far as the exterior lighting of the building, there's wall-mounted exterior wall sconces. And the sign, there's only one sign that I found, which is going to be in the south elevation of the building. And it's Reliant. So with this, I'd like to recommend approval. And I'm just going to read actually my staff analysis for this one. So community development staff recommended approval of the proposed site landscape plan, building, and architectural plans that were initially submitted to community development of September 22. The plans conform with the standards of the Crabapple Form-Based Code. However, after the October 3rd meeting, the board deferred the case to consider the comments provided by the board members. As a result, new renders of the building were submitted to community development on October 26th. So the new renders, and let me just go back and show an image here. So the new renders provide a better visualization of the building from a different perspective. Abundant plant screening is provided along Mayfield Road and Heritage Walk. The tree selection are substantial in size when they mature and will provide adequate tree canopy coverage. These trees, along with a great selection of shrubs and ground plants, will enhance the appearance of the site. And then Further, the topography of the site made it challenging to orient the building any other way without losing more parking spaces. As you know, they were actually approved for 66 parking spaces, but it was reduced 10%. That's why they have that 59. To maximize the views and access to natural light, the building has to be oriented away from the corner area, further away from the roundabout, to avoid creating the artificial canyon effect, where tall packed buildings surround a street. As you notice across the street, the medical building and then the library is sort of like a distance from the frontage of Mayfield Road and creates that open space. DRB suggests incorporating more of the limestone and nebulous white color features on the external facade of the building. However, adding these features made the building look too busy. So the proposed building is already designed so that all of its architectural elements are equally balanced. So in closing, after staff review of the updated renders and taking into account the comments from the board, the proposed design of the building, the choice of materials, and orientation of the structure provide a functional and aesthetically pleasing building. So therefore, staff recommends approval of the proposed building, architecture, sign, and landscape plans as presented with additional comments. And these comments are to include exterior lighting details in the building permit application. If there are parking lights, they have to include that in the LDP application just to provide details. And then, of course, a sign permit application must be submitted as a separate application. And that concludes my presentation for both site, landscape, and building architecture. Any questions for staff? And let me know if you want to see some imagery just for discussion.
I think we've, any questions for staff?
I'm thinking, could we pull this one back up?
Okay. The
Just-
northeast elevation.
Look at, as we're coming up, Heritage. Seeing how this parking area can be screened. And there are a lot of annuals which are really pretty, but we know that they're going to go away. And we've got some trees. I'm just wondering if there's any way to additionally screen that parking.
I mean, there possibly is, but the rest of that parking lot that's already there
Yeah,
doesn't have any of that. screening.
you're right about that. You're absolutely right. There isn't anything
And I
there.
think the
You're right.
applicant is
More, it's
gone.
better than what's there right now.
Correct.
Yeah,
But
Yep.
what's there right now is not good.
No, I
no,
agree,
no.
but there's nothing there. So, but I think the applicant has done their due diligence in providing this.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation a number of times, no, I don't feel like it. We have had this conversation a number of times. I'm gonna ask the question again. I can't remember in which context we talked about this. Is there no opportunity to flip-flop the building, just exact opposite? That way, that patio side that is gonna be next to a building, that would be on Heritage instead. So from the Heritage side, you would see a patio, possibly people out there having coffee, whatever, and then the parking would be on the inside in between two buildings.
I'll probably have the applicant, the engineer, to help me with this, answer this question as far as orienting the building.
I think we did discuss that was kind of, that's where it's got to go.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Steve Rowe with AEC 50 Warm Spring Circle. We did look at that. The challenge we had was the grade that I'm coming in at versus the high grade that I need to get the top floor at. I'm at an elevation of approximately 22 where the entrance of the building is. But if I just slide around the corner down to the corner of the circle like you're talking about, I'm down at 16. So I lose 6 feet of grade change right through there, which puts me where I now have to have stairs up to the building and I have no way to make ADA access work from the road other than a bridge that would have to come around. And it just got really, really awkward to make it work that way. So we did study this in several orientations, and unfortunately, the one that we chose was the one that worked most efficiently and with the site the best.
Did you have anything to add to?
Yeah, the one thing I did want to point out on that photograph or that image that was brought up, we actually eliminated some of the landscaping that is on that corner so that you could see the building. Because if we put all the landscaping in there, you really just be looking at a tree, the shrubs that are coming around the corner, and we specifically asked the renderer to take those away so that you could see the building and the architectural elements of it. So there is more landscaping that is depicted on this image in the plan, and Tracy Wild and I looked at that with the city staff and made sure that there was adequate screening as you're driving by at driver height.
Any other comments or questions for the applicant?
I just have a general, when you're at that corner in that roundabout and you're looking at it from the library or you're looking at it walking up Heritage, where scale to me of this, I think if it were a 2-story building, I would feel that it would fit. I feel like the scale of a 3-story at this corner is a little more than I can see adding to this area. I think that it's stand out more than it's going to enhance. Just my feeling on this. At the last one, I remember hearing that a portion of maybe the first floor was going to be used for multi-purpose. It was kind of a room for additional events, but it wasn't going to be used that often. And I didn't know if there was an opportunity to maybe get a little smaller. Perfect, yes. Thank you, thank you.
Just before you speak to that, Mary, just that's where we were originally on this. And actually
The very first?
Yeah, Bob's recommendation to us was to have it be a 2-story, because he wanted from the building that was there, the one that's already approved that's not built yet, those are both a 3-story.
Right.
It would step down to a 2-story. So he wanted it coming down to the circle so that it wouldn't just tower over the townhomes across the street.
Right.
That was the original
Right.
from
Okay.
staff and Bob to us recommendation. And
When it
so-
came in the spring?
when it came in originally,
Okay.
they came back with a redesigned 2-story building.
Mhm.
But I think then went back and realized it wasn't big enough and it didn't make economic sense for them. And then it's come back again bigger, which is what's requiring more parking, and then the parking lot all along Heritage. And that's the cycle we've been in.
Right.
Right? Do I have that right?
That sounds about right.
Correct.
Just one comment in regard to the scale. I mean, not this rendering, but if you look at the one going from the circle, based on our conversations last month, again, the goal was to show these more a true eye level, street level, because the last time I think we had shown them a little bit high, and they kind of artificially made us looking down more than what. So we basically oriented these all with the street level, basically a 5'6" kind of angle looking back at the building. But you can see the building in the distance in the sense of it's really a 4-story kind of tower in that corner. So there is still that kind of natural step down from the buildings kind of 2 properties over to what we're doing. So obviously, it's not 2 stories, but there is a change of scale down. And then obviously as the grade changes, it turns into the 4-story on the backside. I think the second thing we did look into was, again, the material comment, I think, and we evaluated it, and like, honestly, the one thing we saw that was an improvement on this was we went to a herringbone brick pattern right above the upper level windows, just again to try to add some more detail to that kind of floor transition, but that adding any kind of artificial white in that just didn't really make sense in the overall composition. So, but the other thing was we were trying to do in the sense of a photo reel, that we were really trying to represent what the real landscape would look like on this thing. And so that was kind of the last renderings that we had didn't really capture that. So that's what we're kind of showing here is what the kind of final design would look like. So I guess
No, you guys are doing a job on trying to do all of that. I understand. It's not lack of effort on your part. You are doing that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments to the applicant?
I don't have any.
Okay.
No thoughts, Reed?
I don't really have any thoughts. I mean, I think that they're doing with what they can do within the code. I think the first building they had a rooftop more than it did. It's 2 stories and a rooftop, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah, just to refresh everybody's memory, but, so you really couldn't see that third level. I mean, it looks, certainly the presentation is better than it was before. Beefing up the landscaping, I think, is gonna help, wrap that corner. I went out there a few times and, it's very hard to visualize what this is gonna look like, by walking around, but, I mean, we talked about, what would it look like to put a wall up instead of the rail? Have you guys thought about that too?
I have to double check, but we're not allowed to do a wall out along that way, are we?
Well, so
I think-
I will,
Screening wall.
we met, a couple of us met out on sidewalk through there. And I think one of and to your credit is this was something that we had requested at the last meeting, was give us a little bit more of that street view, standing kind of at the horse looking. So we could have a better idea of visualizing, essentially what we'd be looking at walking through that corridor. One of the suggestions that one of the size of the building was one thing. I understand by pushing it over, it's going to look a lot less tall and grand of a structure being further away from the roundabout. But then the concern of that was being able to look down into the parking lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had made, kind of walked out there and looked at it. Would you guys be opposed to, instead of having that fencing there, is you've already got the wall, you're having to have essentially a retaining wall to basically dig down to put your parking lot in there. So instead of having that wall 18 inches or, plus or minus above the grade, the existing grade, removing the fence and extending that wall up to make it 5 foot. So basically 5 foot tall from the backside of the curb at the grade, following that curb and the existing contours, from where you have the steps going up fronting on Mayfield, all the way around essentially to where your wall stops, where it's a 1 foot wall at the backside of the parking lot. So essentially switching out the fencing for a brick wall. So just extending that wall up another 4.5 feet or so. And then the plantings, the distilleum and stuff like that will grow to cover up a good bit of that. So what that does then is that creates kind of a screening wall where you don't necessarily look down into the parking lot, but you still see the building. So if you took your rendering you've got here, and essentially instead of having that the opaque aluminum fence, it would essentially be the wall would continue up to that height and still keep those plantings and everything in there. Is that something that you guys would object to?
Well, I guess just thinking about in the sense of architecturally, I mean, is a wall more desirable than plantings and a railing? I guess the goal is that it's just a screen wall.
I don't know if it's necessarily desirable. I think it's more of, screening from looking directly down into a parking lot.
Well,
And so if you look at the adjacent buildings, the townhomes, for instance, their thresholds are sunken down. They've got a 5 to 6 foot water table all along. The library has got basically a 5 to 6 foot tall, almost a subgrade on it, with a stone wall there, which is has basically distilleum planted on there that needs to be trimmed. And then as well as it just kind of would mass. And I think, again, it's just a question, because that was the big concern, I think, is looking down into that parking lot. This would essentially solve it. You've got the same thing that you've got here, but instead of the opaque fence to where you can look down into it, you're just extending that wall another 4.5 feet or so.
We're trying to break it up so that the entire length of Heritage from the traffic circle all the way to Milton's 1 acre farm isn't just parking lot. Because right now, that entire stretch of road all the way around the bend is just parking lot. It's just not desirable. It's not pretty.
So that was just something that we had discussed. Does that make sense? Kind of
And,
what,
and it may not be a good solve for
I
this,
guess since
but
I'm
it
just-
was discussed.
I guess the initial one was the idea of I'm driving by, and that I think what we have does adequately screen the parking as you're going through the circle. Going back to Heritage Walk as you're walking up, and that view is, again, it's mostly landscape, and the sidewalk is still, 10 feet away from where this fence is. So the idea of your perspective, I mean, a 5-foot wall seems like that's really, I don't know, that's more of.
I agree. There's
It's just-
a good bit of right of way there on the backside of that to where you could have, and you've got an abundance of plantings in here to screen that.
I'd be more concerned about the plantings than I would the wall, just by being able to take a step back and think about it, look at it
Okay.
personally.
Any other thoughts, comments on that? Okay.
One, we don't know how many people are going to be walking around that corner, obviously with that building. That's going to be based on, city events and stuff in that category. That's going to make that here. And obviously with a full building of employees is going to generate more walkability there. But their point, the majority of folks are going to be driving by that corner, not walking, in my mind. I'm more in favor of the fence than a wall, because walls that they're putting up down Highway 9 that Alpharetta's doing are hideous.
Yeah.
Certainly not that.
I think it gives it more of an open feeling from looking from where the horse is standing in that circle at that elevation there. You can't see that parking garage. You're not going to see that parking garage unless you're literally on that sidewalk trying to look down. And I'm short, so I'm not going to see it anyway.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make one more comment on this and then I'm gonna let it rest. But the point that you just made, more people will be driving past there than walking past there. I think that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Is people want less traffic
Yeah.
and they want a walkable city center.
Agreed.
And what we are talking about is making it a place where you are only going to drive by. I'll let it rest. I'm gonna go to the bathroom while y'all finish the rest of that conversation.
Why don't we do this? Is there any more questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, so we'll follow protocol. And did you guys have any further discussion? No. Okay. So I will call for public comment.
We have none.
None. Okay, so I will close public comment. And so I think at this time, we'll take it amongst ourselves. Excuse me, amongst ourselves as a board to discuss this a little bit further. So
When it was a wall, I was actually, because I don't know how it would end. Would it end at 5 feet or was it tapering down? You remember?
So I think the comment came up because, to Doug's point is wanting to mask the parking lot. I do take into consideration what the applicant said was there's 10 foot from the back side of that sidewalk to where this, small little wall and fence is going to be. So there's, amicable area or plenty of area to plant. I'm more of a proponent or more for, vegetative screening than, hard surfaces. It was just a comment that came up that was discussed that I felt like bringing it up. But as far as the building itself, they meet every code. It's an acceptable use, size, structure, the parking, all of that is so. As far as what the city code allows there, it's meeting all that, and so I felt like they did a good job of incorporating the herringbone. Kind of we'd asked putting in the lintels now, which I think those were an addition, right? The lintels above the windows on the sides. Okay, and then also, continuing that limestone water table around as well helps break that up a little bit, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I like the building better than the last time it was presented, for sure. Was the Reliant sign an ad too? Yeah. I thought that was a pretty. Oh, okay. I thought it was a decent touch. And I mean, sitting back and looking at it, I think I'd like the fence more than a wall.
Yeah.
Honestly. So yeah. I don't really have any other comments. I think you guys did a good job, and thank you for representing the way that you did. The beefing up that landscaping, I think, will be really important.
Okay. Any other?
With the scale.
Yeah.
But that's why we have
Yeah,
5 people.
We're allowed to have a
That's,
problem. you
yes,
know.
Yeah.
that's why
It's
we have
just-
5 people.
Okay. Doug?
I told you I was saying my piece.
Okay, okay. Okay. So let's do this. Can we get a motion for, let's start off with the Reliant Building, the site and landscape plan as proposed? Get a
Did you
motion.
need to add anything to that, or was it good as proposed?
They have a very extensive landscaping. Really, my concern is around that corner, and I think that's been, but based on what we're seeing here, as far as the number of plantings, the species of plantings, I think it's going to be a very good looking, and these are colorful. They have annuals, and they also have deciduous and overstory trees and stuff that are going to be, in my opinion, a good mix of the two, which will offer not only screening but aesthetically pleasing as well. So as far as the landscaping and the site, the walls, the drainage, all that stuff, I felt like they did a pretty good job of presenting that. So.
Make a motion to approve the landscape.
Yeah.
Is that a final review?
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the Reliant Building 860 Mayfield Road landscape and site plan as proposed.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is just the
That
landscape.
was
This
just
is
landscape.
just
So that was
A.
A, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I believe we've got a consensus on that. Good. So moving on, can we please make a motion for the building plan review, which is 7B Reliant Building 860 Mayfield Road? I will make a motion. I will make a motion to approve the building plan as proposed for the Reliant Building 860 Mayfield Road.
I will second it.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
Reluctantly. Don't like doing it, but
Same.
Okay.
So all are in favor?
3-2.
No, we'll do
3-2.
it again.
3-2.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Why don't you raise your hand so we
Yeah.
know? It's
Aye.
very hard for us to guess who's saying what.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
and then
And
All those
not in
opposed?
favor because I
all
didn't
those
raise.
opposed, same sign?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we have a vote.
Get it done, make it look pretty.
Okay.
Yes, please. Make it
Thank you,
look
gentlemen. All right. Thank you for everyone's patience. Moving on. We are still in our final reviews, so we're going to move on to 7C, Fortitude Farm, 14725 Wood Road. We're doing a building review tonight.
So the subject site, it's zone AG1 agricultural with a total size of 13.25 acres located at 14725 Wood Road. The site includes a barn with a one-bedroom apartment attached to the structure, a riding ring, pens, pastures, and a storage building. In addition, there are other accessory structures on the property, including a shaving shed, small storage building, dumpster, and small viewing sheds. The site contains a floodplain adjacent to the stream that covers a large portion of the 13.25 acre site. So it's zone AG1 within the rural Milton overlay. The existing use of this property is equestrian farm. The barn and the riding ring was built in 1995. The applicant requests to review the building plan of roof collar and structure of covered riding area. So just a little bit of historical perspective. Early this year, the applicant requested a use permit for barns or riding areas to construct a covered riding area over an existing riding ring with a 5-part concurrent variance. The applicant was reviewed by Design Review Board back in March, and of course, the board provided comments on that as a courtesy review. And then ultimately, the city council approved the use permit and that 5-part concurrent variance on May 1st, 2023 at its mayor and council meeting. So I provided you a copy of that ordinance and zoning conditions related to that use permit. So 2 of the site development conditions outlined in the approved ordinance require DRB's review and approval. So these conditions are, I'm just gonna actually show that. Sorry. Yep. So actually there's 3 conditions. One is the color of roof, the covered riding area structure, and expansion of existing barn. But tonight we're not looking at the existing barn. We're just looking at the riding area structure. And then of course the height of the structure. So those are the 3 things that we're looking at tonight. All right, this is the aerial view of the property. As you can see, you'll see that riding area pretty clear. Here's the site plan and a photo of what that riding area looks like. Of course, Wood Road is famous for the equestrian, for their equestrian farm. So these are just adjacent properties in the area. Sharing again that supplemental information that I shared. And then moving on to staff analysis. So the proposed metal building is steel frame. Dimension is 120 by 160 feet, and the total height of that is 20 feet from finished grade to bottom of roof eave. So according to one of the conditions outlined in the ordinance, the height of the covered riding area structure shall not exceed 30 feet as measured from the ground to the peak of the roof. So as shown in the site plan, the height of the proposed structure satisfy these conditions, which is 28 feet. So the proposed roof color is fern green, which closely matches to the existing horse barn in the property. I showed a photo below. And also fern green is an acceptable color and visually matches the prescribed Pantone color from the rural Milton overlay prescribed list of colors. So staff recommends approval of the proposed metal building structure and color of the roof with no additional comments. Any question for staff?
Jackie, I do have one. You had included Exhibit B, I guess the conditions of approval. For this next part, which is the riding ring, do those conditions need to be done before approval for the riding ring? In other words, under 3A, provide runoff reduction for the new impervious surface? Under Exhibit B, I'm just asking.
Yeah, so no, they're in the midst of doing concurrently their building permit as well as their land disturbance permit. So all that will be done prior to the issuance of the
Okay,
permit.
I just didn't know the order of.
Yeah, no.
Got it, got
And they
it.
actually did a kind of a precursor of the stormwater analysis, and then they went on to do more thorough analysis. So it's all been taken care of. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Robin.
Any additional questions for staff? Okay. If we can go ahead and call the applicant up here, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese of Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Carolyn Bell of Fortitude Farm in her application to continue the operation of her horse farm that she's been operating for the last 25 years. To continue this business, she needs to have a covered arena. She needs all-weather riding facility to maintain her current students and any future students and compete with the existing farms in Milton and the expanding of farms in Cherokee County. So I hope you take it into consideration that the more difficult we make it for these horse farms to exist, the more likelihood that we're going to lose them and they will all become 1-acre subdivisions. This building is simply form-based. There is a limited, very, very limited amount of leniency in the design criteria. It is all structurally based, the red steel framing. We have tried to minimize the effects. We met with the White Columns HOA board in the initial phasing or planning of this. One of their considerations was to mute the color of the roof as much as possible. I don't know if we can come up with a more muted color than fern green. That has been done. We meet the height requirements. We are restricted on the clearance. As you can imagine, if a horse reared with a rider on it, that you have a distinct possibility of a serious injury. So we need a clearance. And to meet that, this height is where it is. I don't know what else we can do to make this more palatable. I would hope in the future that since we have a registered architect on staff, that we could handle this in a more streamlined manner. The presentation that we gave before you had most of these details, and I would hope that going forward that we could make a recommendation that you guys could do that and leave it up to staff to approve the final things. This has been very difficult for Ms. Bell. The financial burden has gotten to such a point that she cannot afford to do the barn addition at this time through all of the rules and regulations that she's had to go through, and which of really no problem from anyone other than just the natural increase in the cost of building materials and construction has been very difficult. So that being said, I would hope that you could find it to approve this structure to allow, as I look at the horse, the equestrian community to hopefully survive and thrive in the city of Milton. I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you might have. Once again, with the understanding that I'm very, very limited on what I can do other than it is a pavilion, it's a cover, and it has to meet distinct structural requirements. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Is there any lighting in this?
Ma'am, there will be interior lighting
Okay.
if we have bad weather, where they can, if you're in January and you have a dreary day, there will be. As you're well aware, all structures and all lighting in the city has to meet the Milton Night Sky Ordinance, so all lighting will be reviewed by professional staff and approved.
And it'll be
Hopefully
on
I
the
answered.
plan as well? When they get the final plan, the lighting will be in there as well?
Yes, ma'am, that is part of the requirements.
Wanted to confirm.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay. All right, so at this time, seeing no questions for the applicant, I will open up, I'll call for public comment.
We have none.
I have none, okay, so I'll close public comment. And so at this time, I guess, any discussion between the board? Nope. All right, can I get a motion then?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the final review, 7C Fortitude Farm, 14725 Wood Road, with a review of the structure and roof color of the covered riding area, and I'm sure it's going to be beautiful.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you. All right, next up. 7D, final reviews, Caribou Coffee, 12996 Alpharetta Highway, building review. Jackie, if you will, please.
All right, the subject site is a 0.0609 acre lot located at 12996 Highway 9. The existing one-story building on this site was built in 2015 with a total square footage of 2,710 square feet. The property is zone T5 within the Deerfield Form-Based Code. The applicant, Caribou Coffee Company, requests a certificate of endorsement to remodel the existing building to match the company's brand standards while adhering to Milton's Deerfield Form-Based Code standards. Okay, here's the satellite or aerial view of the property. It's facing Highway 9. You see the neighboring businesses. We have Target across the street. There's also some dentistry office, and I believe this one is,
Primary care.
yeah, care, thank you. Yep. And here's existing site building conditions. This is formerly, if you remember, it's Del Taco. So it's a restaurant. Now they want to apply to convert this into a coffee shop. So it's pretty straightforward, just the location of all the existing infrastructure, the parking lot, the dumpster, where the drive-through area and entrance and exit to the site. And of course, I just encircled here where they're gonna do the proposed railing. So just to show you existing building conditions, different elevations. East elevation is facing Highway 9. Here's the existing parking area and the dumpster. Some adjacent properties. This is just a summary of the proposed scope of work. So they will install new patio railing, install a new drive-through menu board, install new corporate wall signs, along with other types of signage. They're going to paint exterior walls of the building. We've suggested to add double louver wood shutters in different elevation of the building, and I'll explain it to you later. They're gonna mount a new canopy above the drive-through, as shown in this picture. And then, of course, paint the walls of existing dumpster to match the primary building's color. So when you look at the proposed east elevation, all finishes not pointed or highlighted in the renderings are existing finishing, which is to remain as is. So they will paint the existing siding as well as the metal coping cap. Okay. So for north elevation, this is where we suggested that fall shutters because the existing wall is just pretty bare. It used to have, I believe, a mural painting in that section. So we've suggested that to add it. So lights will remain. Again, existing siding fiber or cement siding siding will be painted with their corporate color. And same thing with the west elevation, we've added a wood shutter. Lastly, south elevations. So for staff analysis, as far as architectural standards, there will be no major changes to the existing facade of the building. Windows, doors, and parapet, as well as metal roof awning to remain. The only thing that we're adding here is that painted wooden double louver shutters in the south, north, and west elevations of the building. Existing materials include stucco walls, stone-based water tables, stone corner columns, and fiber cement siding. For colors, they've selected colors that are acceptable by our code. So we have the white dove for siding, bittersweet and Java. These are like brown, under brown color family. And of course, the corporate color, which is reflecting pool, which again matches our prescribed Pantone color. As far as signage, the applicant has actually provided a comprehensive signage package that shows all the types of signs that they're applying. But here in this image, you'll see the proposed signage for monument sign. And then dumpster, of course, walls above the stone to be painted to match the primary building's color. And here's the proposed patio railing and the location of that railing. Height is just 3.5 feet. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Staff recommends approval of the proposed exterior building architecture plan of Caribou Coffee. Any questions for staff?
Any questions for staff?
No, sorry.
Okay. All right, seeing no questions for staff at this time, if the applicant could come forward, please.
Can you leave the picture up of the real Caribou Coffee? No, keep going there. You had a live picture, not a rendering. No, keep going. I think. Did I just see one? Keep going. It might have been the last picture. There, is that
Okay.
it? That's not a rendering, right?
That's the rendering.
That's the
That is the
rendering.
rendering? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that one.
I wish we were done. I'm Mike Hilly. I'm the Vice President of Development for Caribou Coffee Company. The project, as Jackie described, is pretty straightforward. It's a renovation of the existing Del Taco at 12996 Alpharetta Highway. The building itself is pretty conducive to what we need. We're keeping a lot of the materials that have, they represent natural, real materials that we're known for. we're just brightening the building up a little bit more, adding some accent to it with the guest interfacing elements. And then the interior is where the big ta-da is going to happen. We're changing from a taco shop to a coffee house. It's a upper end. There'll be seats for about 40 folks with overstuffed chairs, very comfortable areas, workstations, and a great team. This is going to be one of the first locations into our re-entry back into Atlanta. So we're super excited to be part of the Milton community. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to address them.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
I want to say it's great to have something in there. This is wonderful. To have the Caribou Coffee, I think it looks really nice. You are going to have patio seating, right? You've got that rail that goes around there.
Yes.
One of the recommendations I would make, obviously it's been unoccupied, and the landscaping, the shrubs, some of those shrubs, I'm sure you know, they're dead. You're going to have to take them out.
Yep.
And then mulching and some little grass area just so that it looks as nice as the building.
Yes.
Getting that landscaping up to par. I would highly recommend that.
We're all for it.
That'll add to that aesthetic appeal.
Our agreement with the landlord is that we're self-maintaining, and we've got a great facility group that will be maintaining this on our own and not relying on somebody else.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Even better. Okay. Any other questions?
The blue, your reflecting pool colors that are, is that how your other locations look with the big pillar of blue? I don't know what you call that, a big wall of blue on.
Entry tower?
Yeah, entry tower.
Yeah. Some of them do, some of them don't. You know, especially when we're taking over these existing QSRs, they have their own lives. So we have buildings where the entire facade is blue. But a lot of times it's just an accent element like this. This one just happened to have the tower on it.
That brown, that kind of natural brown look that I guess Del Taco had.
Mm-hmm.
Did you consider keeping that kind of color and then putting the blue Caribou Coffee and the blue? Seems like the actual logo would stand out more on just the background of the wood. It was just the only thing that really caught my eye. Not that it has to be that color wood.
So the browns that are existing have more of a red in them, and it fights the blue.
It does.
It's a little bit more conflicting, and I don't necessarily disagree with you with the blue shield on the blue background.
Yeah.
It's not as blending as it seems in the renderings because you have your shadow lines around them. So we have a number of locations where we have the blue shield on the blue background, and it works, particularly at night.
I'm going to say from the silence up here, I'm going to say that pool color is the only concern of everybody on this board.
So I do have a question that brings to mind where the Caribou Coffee, the script is, that's not going to be backlit, is it?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure when you were saying it was, okay. So basically it won't, at night, you won't really see that because there's no.
You'll see the shield, but not necessarily the blue tower. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I mean, the shield.
Shield is a lit sign. It's illuminated.
Right, on the wall.
Correct.
And what I'm saying is, how is it illuminated if it's not backlit?
It's an interior lighting.
Which, let me double check. Usually the lighting is supposed to be like how you have your other lights. You know,
Meaning it can't be enclosed light,
Right.
closed light.
I think
let me just, we'll just double
you're
check
saying
on that.
backlit,
And
and
obviously
his
you
saying
have a
lit
different
inside
sign.
is the same, more than
Right,
the same.
right.
It's just-
Typically, like around here, we don't allow internally lit wall signs, that they have to be lit from like a light fixture that looks like that are on the wall there. So let us just double check. I mean, that's the sign is separate from the building. You're not approving the sign per se, but it's just a question to look at. So
You didn't happen to bring that color, did you, today? That reflecting pool color with you?
I did not.
It's hard to tell when you print it out on here.
It's on his jacket.
What's that?
Yeah.
It's on his jacket.
There you go.
you can take a little walk around like you're on the.
Nice logo.
I actually do have a,
Yeah.
I do have a question for staff. Thank you.
It's a little more natural feeling of a blue than what you get.
It's definitely not as stark as
As the
what
colors.
this looks like.
You know, when you say cobalt blue, where it has, sort of the grays in there, that's a little bit more, not as dark, but it's more of a gray blue than it is
These
a,
renderings looks teal.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not as
It
green
does.
Which I'm
blue.
like, oh, wow, we're not at the beach.
So
But-
the closest thing I could probably compare it to is maybe the Tiffany blue.
Okay. So I do have a question for staff because the last applicant had a swatch of Pantone. And this swatch of Pantone looks completely different than this swatch of Pantone. This swatch of Pantone that's actually in this packet looks more closely like, the reflecting pool looks more closely like Pantone than the last applicant. Just want to kind of throw that out there, but
So I think we're going to look at trying to work with Pantone to try to get some chips, real chips, instead of, obviously, when you put things in print, everything's different.
okay.
So I think that's our goal is, obviously, we don't want to spend a couple $1,000s on whatever, their whole pack, but we're going to look into requesting just all of our approved colors, and then we can have that available for
Okay.
you for the actual true color.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? No?
Well, are those like false horse, like where you tie up your horse in Del Taco picture?
The horse ties,
Is that what it is?
well, the ones that were there, we're not going to keep them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But yes, I do think that's what that is.
They'd be
Just never
caribou
noticed that
ties.
before.
It'd be for the
Not that I
reindeer
mind
then.
it. It's just.
All your trips to Del Taco, you never saw those there?
Hold on now.
Oh, yeah, they're,
They had a purpose once.
Yeah, the horse hitches,
I love the idea of caribou. I used to go to the one in Buckhead and the one in Midtown when I was in grad school. Those were two of my study spots.
I actually
Still
think
there.
the one in Buckhead had the brown background with didn't it?
I think
It's a big brown timber building.
And a timber building with the logo on it.
Yeah. I think the reflecting pool is more of a accent than the main color of that building.
And there's such a small difference between the Pantone color and the reflecting pool that if Pantone is the approved color and we have to pivot to that, I don't know that we'd have huge opposition. I don't think it's going to conflict with the signage much. So, happy to take any suggestions.
Just some two accent towers. I mean, it's
It is their brand.
But to his point, though, is the reflecting pool in Pantone is very, very similar.
I'm not a paint guy, so.
To your point, I can't tell Home Depot not to paint it orange because I hate that color. Doesn't go over so well, right?
Can't all be red and black.
It can all be red and black.
All right. So, okay. Any further questions for the applicant?
So we just confirmed it's okay to be internally lit for the wall sign, but monument signs can't be internally lit. They have to be
Okay,
from the
got it.
ground
I think we
cover
knew that,
up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good.
Well, then there you go. There you go.
But here in this area, you can't do it.
That's where you are.
Thanks, everyone. We appreciate the time and getting through things so quickly. Staff's been fantastic to work with. And as I mentioned, we're looking forward to being part of the community. So thanks again.
Great.
Yeah.
So, seeing no more discussion on that, I'll open for public comment.
We have none.
Close public comment. Discussion amongst the board?
Nope.
No, any discussion? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
Make
Mike,
a
Go
motion.
ahead, Mary.
All right. Make a motion to accept 7D Caribou Coffee, 12996 Alpharetta Highway. Accept the building review of the site and exterior building plan of a proposed coffee shop.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Forward to it.
Good luck.
Right by there.
My wife will be super happy. All right, we're moving on. Final reviews, 7E Rough House, 640 Doris Road, the building review. Jackie, if you will please introduce this project to us.
All right, the subject site is zoned AG1 with 2.57 acres located at the intersection of Doris Road and Birmingham Highway. The existing one-story brick building was built in 1998 with a total of 8,948 square feet. It was established in 1999 as a rough house resort which provides overnight dog lodging, daycare, grooming, and training. So tonight, the applicant requests a certificate of endorsement to construct a fully enclosed structure that will serve as a dog play area. So just for historical context, before I go with that, let me just show you the aerial view of the property. And the existing site and building condition, just a different location of parking area, existing dumpster, and then the entrance and exit to the site. There's also a stormwater detention behind the building. And photos of existing site and building. So the south elevation is facing Doris Road, and the east elevation that's facing Birmingham Highway. Some adjacent property photos. Site plan. So this shows the proposed structure addition connected to the main or the primary building structure. And this is the location of the proposed additional parking spot. And of course, we're relocating the dumpster this section. For perspective, the image shows where the proposed structure addition is going to be built. So just some supplemental information. In 2020, the applicant applied for a variance. It's a four-part variance to seek the following, or to seek reduction of the distance of the pen from adjacent property lines. And that section of the ordinance show here, which is kennel, section 64-415A9, kennel, veterinary hospital, or veterinary clinic, provided buildings housing animals are fully enclosed and at least 100 feet from all property lines. And pens, runs, etc., which are not located in a fully enclosed building, are at least 200 feet from all property lines. So the variances seek to reduce the pens distance from all property lines, and the Board of Zoning of Appeals denied all four variances in October of 2020. So let's look at staff analysis. This is the proposed concept plan. Let's look at the setbacks first. The existing setbacks for this property is 60, 50, and 25. So there's double front setbacks, the one facing Birmingham Highway and the one facing Doris Road. Then as for the AG1 use regulation, this proposal meets that standards. We've measured and, working with the applicant, we make sure that the distance of the structure is 100 feet away from neighboring properties. As far as the building size and height, that also conforms the rural Milton overlay. The size of the property is 1,415 square feet, and the proposed height from finished grade to the top of the roof is 19.5 feet. As for parking, there's 15 existing parking spaces. They're proposing one additional parking space. Exterior building materials include cementitious siding, fall barn doors, transom windows, and asphalt shingle roof. As for dumpster enclosure, it's an 8-foot wooden frame enclosure with gate and painted to match the proposed structure. As far as material colors, you have the timberline bark wood for roof shingle and neutral white for exterior wall and trim. So with that, staff recommends approval of the plan for the proposed additional building structure with the following comment. It's just to add architectural details such as trim boards or fall windows slash shutters below the transom windows, especially the elevation that's facing Birmingham Highway and then the west elevation of that building. So I'm referring to this section. Any comments for staff or questions?
I have a question for you. Based on your recommendations to add architectural details such as trim boards or shutters below the transom windows, the rendering depicts that?
No. So are you talking about these art
I
recommendation?
got it. So on the, what just says side structure, Birmingham Highway, those two transom windows you're suggesting mimicking the barn door look between the, or
Yes,
below those?
I'm gonna leave that with the architect, how they wanna
Okay.
add some architectural elements. Right now, it kind of just look not symmetrical, just with the transom window and then the plain siding.
Okay. Okay.
Is there a landscape plan to go there?
No, there's no landscape that was provided.
Okay. So we're not reviewing landscaping or the site, we're just reviewing the
The
building.
building,
Correct. Okay.
probably have to ask Ms. Robin. Would
No
this
colors or
require a
anything like that, just the
landscape
building.
or site plan review for the?
I don't think it'll get the above, won't require a full LDP, so it'll just be like a building plan for a house.
Okay.
So there won't be a land disturbance permit. You'd have to have more than an
5,000,
acre disturbance
Okay.
for a full LDP, so.
So and then in that case, a site and landscape review is not required.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't see any lights on this building. Is that correct?
That's correct. So that's probably something too that we could ask the applicant.
Saw a picture, but it was just a rendering and it had a
Oh,
light. And then when I looked, I didn't see. So I
Anything
just
that was
wanted
called
to
out.
double check on that,
Okay,
because they do have neighbors, so that lighting, I think, would be important.
No, it's a great question because it does say on the general notes, proposed planned LED lighting with natural daylight as shown, but yet there's none shown. So, okay. Okay. Any further questions for Jackie? All right. Can the applicant come forward, please?
I'm Christopher Kamak. My wife Susan and I live at 12995 New Providence, and we own Rough House Dog Resort at 640 Doors. And we bought it, very bad timing, December of 19. COVID hit. We came in here to try to do some things to get some additional space to have more room for the dogs to run around and play. We tried to do that outside with pens. We're too tight. We don't have the dimensions for that. We've made some changes internally, took out some suites, made additional play places, but it's pretty cramped and tight in there. So now we've been looking at the land we have, and we found we do have a little bit of land to build a fully enclosed play area. So that's what we're proposing today, just a place for our dogs to play. This is Ryan Jennings. He is our architect. So most questions will probably be answered by him because I haven't built anything. So we've also been working with the city to try to make it look and feel like Milton. So this isn't just us coming, here's what we think should work. We've been working with the city for a while to try to bring y'all something that would work.
Understood. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I mean, so This building was probably built, what, in the 1990s-ish, if you had to guess?
98 or
Brick,
99.
Four-sided brick, low roof, very, very 90s traditional brick. Whose idea was it for the barn?
For the play place or the existing
Yeah, the
barn?
new proposed building. Was it, I'm just curious.
It's just something we came up with, looking for solutions to have additional place to play. You mean the barn look or just
The barn
building?
look, yeah,
Oh,
sort of the barn, let's say you have two completely opposite things
Got it.
Right next
smashed against each other.
That came
connected. I was
from-
just curious if there was a vision for that. I was just curious.
That came from Bob.
Yeah, okay.
We would like to
What
do,
what were you thinking about?
I would like to bring the existing building, I would like to improve the way that looks. Budget's limited. We need to build out our capacity a little bit first. Eventually, I'd like to make the brick building look more like that barn. But that may be another phase.
So I think that was when we met at staff, I think obviously, yeah, it looks incongruous, but eventually to renovate the main building to be more consistent and updated.
Mhm.
Right. So. And I think you'd get a lot of visuals from Birmingham Highway. Typically most people are going up and down Birmingham. So I think that gives a good impression from that side versus Doris. I'm not saying people don't drive down Doris, but the majority of people are going down Birmingham Highway. So you get more bang for your buck, so to speak.
Kind of masks.
It would, certainly, yeah.
Is this something that normally you would get letters from neighbors?
Not for certificate of endorsement or.
Okay, and that's why I wanted to
application.
Right, yeah,
ask.
there's no
Okay.
requirements or anything like that.
Would there be any kind of I'm trying to think, a sidewalk or something leading up to that? Because it seems like you've got your parking area and then you've got the barn. Is there anything that goes, because I would think it would be trampled a lot. I don't,
It's only internally accessed.
okay,
it's
okay.
It's a run between the inside kennel area.
Okay, so it would never be outside access.
Stay completely secured, and that's to adhere to the compliance for the code as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Can you elaborate a little bit on staff's comment as far as the adding the architectural trim boards and shutters below the transom windows on the east elevation, the Birmingham Highway side?
Yes, Jackie had reached out about that as well, and that's something we can look to mimic more what the barn doors are. It's a lower height on that to kind of step down. It was kind of stepping down towards the hill and towards Birmingham Highway there as well. As you can see, if you're looking at the site plan now, it's kind of a triangular piece of property we have to work with here. So we were trying to get as much bang for buck as we could before we got into the septic field in the back. So that was what we did. That's why we did that. I think when you're looking at this elevation here, the one on the bottom, if you look, there's a dashed line where the dimensions end, and that's actually, that area is between the two buildings. So you won't see that unless you're going back to look at the electrical meter.
Got it,
But
okay.
the one to the right, the one transom member there to the right, we can do some more trim elements to mimic what's going on the other side to make it feel a little bit more the faux barn door look on those areas.
I mean, I would think that you could even just do like at a midpoint, a 1x4, one or 5/4x4 Hardy on a horizontal axis, and then just do literally an X pattern below that, and that would be sufficient.
And honestly, that's what the majority of the trim around here is. There's only the one door you're looking at here is actually, there's only one actual door on it, and that's so they can get in there and clean or do maintenance if they need to. They can open that up and come in, but it'll stay fixed.
So that will have
98% of its life.
It will have the track right above okay.
But that would be and that faces the parking lot. That's the only one.
Got it. Okay.
Just so they can get in and out if they need to.
Okay.
And so right now from Birmingham Highway, you're looking at the side where air conditioning units, electrical stuff. So is all of that going to remain between the two buildings?
It will.
So you're going to be looking at the side of a pretty side of a building as opposed to
you're no longer
all
gonna
of
see
those
any
elements that
utilities.
are out there now. So that'll certainly be better.
May I ask a question about and I like trim colors, maybe different from just the whole main color to add a little more interest to the building. Was there a reason why you went with the same color for the building and the trim?
Because there was already,
we're already different than the building we're next to.
You're
So
trying to minimize.
not put any more things in there we need to. And
Got it.
And working with staff too, we talked about when the trim is painted on the existing building.
To
we'll
match.
this to try to help keep things coming back closer
Perfect.
together. And I have both the paint and the shingles here as well too, if you need to see this.
Would you like to see that, Mary?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought about that same thing, Mary, it'd be nice to maybe see like the windows or something like that in a black, but then like, well, that would just be such a stark contrast.
Yeah, and I'm good.
Was there a reason that when you're facing the building that you put those three, I guess they're false doors really, on the front instead of doing more of like a big barn door with two windows on either side or anything like that?
Just trying to keep the scale down. There's a pretty steep hill from the intersection looking down there. And if you get too big, it almost looks kind of squatty. So trying to stay vertical and going with the elevation look down there. That was the thought behind it.
Yeah, you might not even see it.
You'll definitely see the top of it. And so if you make it really wide, it starts to look like a really weird transom window from the corner looking down.
Got it. Cool.
You're gonna have upgraded insulation in this building?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I read.
It said that in there. So let's talk about the light fixtures, because it does say LED lighting. Do you have any proposed lighting on the exterior of this or?
We had not put any proposed light on the exterior. That was a note for the interior of the building. That was
Okay.
the full concept of the building, but that would just be the interior.
Okay.
There's no exterior nighttime need for lighting on the outside of this structure.
Okay.
Even better.
Okay. Any other questions or comment for the applicant? I do have one comment, but it's nothing that pertains to this. It's from my understanding that a structure must be more than, or 10 foot from an existing septic tank. I would just leave you with that from my understanding. It appears that your structure is quite close to an existing.
It is. There's actually two septic tanks out there. It's a double tank system.
Mhm.
So based off the survey, we are more just over the 10 feet from it, but that's part of,
Okay.
we're working in a tight triangle there to make that work.
Okay. Yeah, just caution you, right? Because I found that out the hard way. But that has nothing to do with this. I just felt obliged to tell you a story that I ran into. So anyway, any more questions for the applicant or for staff? Okay. So I will open up public comment at this time.
We have none.
None. Okay, I'll close public comment. Discussion amongst the board? No? Okay. How about this? I will make a motion to recommend or to approve 7E Rough House 640 Doris Road. Approve the building plan of a proposed addition structure to the existing building.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we are now moving on to our last item of the night. Final review 7F, Fifth Third Bank, 13794, Georgia Highway 9. This will be a site and building review. Jackie, if you don't mind.
Right, the subject site is a 0.82 acre lot located 13794 Highway 9 North. The existing one-story building on this site was built in 2001 with a total square footage of 3,356 square feet. This property is zoned T5 within the Deerfield Form-Based Code. The applicant, Fifth Third Bank, requests a certificate of endorsement to remodel the existing building to match the company's, of course, brand standards, as well as they're also requesting for changes to the existing site. Here's the aerial view of the property. With several businesses around it. And it's just further south, you'll see our very own Milton Public Safety Complex. Just to the north of that, CVS, a gas station. And Publix is just right behind that building, subject site building. So here's existing site building conditions. It's pretty straightforward, where the location of the dumpster, the drive-through, and the entrance and exits to the site. So photos of existing building with different elevation. So the east elevation is facing Highway 9. The parking area, the drive-through, and then the dumpster. So I just want to clarify this. This is a mechanical component here will be removed.
Looks
So
like a
that leaves
freezer.
with- Huh?
Walk-in freezer. That's what it looks like.
Is it a okay.
I need that for the bank.
Yeah, can I have that?
And then just to give you what the look and feel of that area, here are some adjacent property photos. So let's start with the proposed scope of work for site and landscape. Not going to read all through that, but pretty much in summary, they wanted to remove the existing parking along this area and replace it with landscape. The reason for the removal is because they're extending that drive-through canopy to allow for another extra lane for the ADM service. They're also going to be, they're going to spruce up the place by adding, some landscaping plants, shrubs, bushes, and then there's also a section behind the building that they're removing 2 trees but adding 1 more. They're adding a bike rack just right to the north side of the building, northwest corner. And they're going to restripe the parking lot. And of course, they're going to replace and reslope the existing sidewalk. It's right here. Okay. We also provide you the proposed scope of work for building. Again, it's pretty comprehensive, and I'll go through each of that as we walk through the different elevations. So for the proposed northeast elevation, what they're trying to do or proposing is to remove that awning, which is, let me just move back, this section that you see here in the east, north, and south elevation. So they're going to replace that with the brick veneer, which matches the existing brick of the building. And then they're going to be adding a flat roof awning. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some decorative brackets underneath that. And as far as the window, currently the existing windows are pretty plain. It looks like former Wendy's. So what we've suggested to the applicant is to add external, or what do you call exterior grid lights or grids, just to kind of soften it a little bit. That makes it look like a bank. So for the north elevation, again, there's some empty plain wall here that we thought, it could use some elements, architectural elements, and what they've suggested during our meetings, maybe a faux shutters. And then also they're adding a roof just right here next to the entryway. Proposed northwest elevation. I showed you the bike rack. And then I believe the existing, there's 2 trees right here, but they're removing that. In fact, I think I'm going to show you quickly in one of the elevation. So in the west elevation, this wall is actually a screening wall that hides some mechanical equipment behind it. There's no roof on that, so what they're intending to do is to remove that section of the walls, leave that open, and then put some landscaping. So you'll see in this section how they remove that and replace it with some ground cover and bushes. Here's the back of the building, or the exterior west elevation. We've asked them to also add something, maybe an awning. Currently, there's nothing in there, just door. As you look at the southeast elevation, this is where the proposed extension of the existing canopy. Also, I want to highlight too that currently this is a door, but what they're going to do is they're going to remove that door, add a window, and then fill in bricks. Here's another angle of that elevation. So staff analysis for site and landscape. Of course, the existing dumpster is currently already enclosed with a gate, but that will be painted, whatever paint of the principal building will match that walls. As for landscape, landscape parking spaces that will remove, but will be replaced with shrubs, ground cover, and trees. Again, for the parking area, I've already mentioned they're removing 15 parking spaces, which will be replaced with landscape. They're going to restripe parking lot, replace portion of existing asphalt concrete, and replace reslope of existing sidewalk on the north side of the building. As far as architectural standards, there's no major changes in the existing facade, just adding that design elements that we've suggested. Fall shutters, exterior grids for glass windows, painted brick veneer, brackets, and flat roof awning. The facade materials right now is just predominantly brick material. For colors, for exterior walls, building components, that includes the canopy, roof, and entryway awning, accents, and decorative elements are permitted. They have different types of colors, paint colors. I know there's several gray colors, charcoal, whale gray, and musket gray, and then black and white. So the applicant's pretty good at identifying what color goes to which materials. And for the paint color of the dumpster, that should match the primary building colors. As far as the signage, you'll see that in the east and north exterior elevation. That's something that, again, the staff will review separately, and to make sure that it's not hundreds or more than 100 square feet or 5% of the applicable wall area. As far as external lighting, the only thing I found in this site plan is that round ceiling lights in the drive-through canopy and entry awning of the building. So with that, staff recommends approval of the proposed site and landscape plan, as well as the exterior building architecture plan of Fifth Third Bank, with the following comments, which is pretty standards that we asked them to include sign details for sign permit application, and also that we require an LDP application for all site-related work. This is because they're disturbing over 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay, any question for staff?
Has the landscape plan been looked at by the arborist?
Yes. So, and they're still in the process of submitting the LDP, but they're going to review that. There's several staff that will review that.
From that perspective, I think it's a slam dunk. I mean, we're getting rid of concrete, we're adding more green space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
that's-
I know. It's,
It's a huge
it is a
improvement
huge
from what's
improvement
there
over
now.
what's there
currently
now.
in there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Trees are so grown up around that building already.
Mhm. No, yeah, but they're getting rid of that one wall and adding more bushes there, getting rid of all those parking spots, adding more green space.
And the dumpster area, man, that's a big
Yes.
improvement.
Yeah, this whole thing's
Yeah.
solid.
Any further questions for staff?
Mm.
Okay. But at this time, can the applicant come forward and tell us a little bit more?
Good evening. I'm Greg Walden with BDG Architects here representing Fifth Third Bank. And then I'm with Brett Neville. He's civil engineer.
Yeah, Brett Neville, Infinity Engineering Group, Tampa, Florida. We're the civil engineer.
And yeah, just some key points that I think coming in here, as staff mentioned, trying to get some of the prototypical elements into, getting away from a Wendy's here and getting more into a Fifth Third Bank. But some key things to point out is the Fifth Third Next Gen prototype does have some elements, as we spoke to staff and we drove around your city, that might have been a little much to add to this. There's some big ACM wing walls that are prototypical to the Fifth Third with their standard prototype blue and green. We have not included that. We looked at the existing brick of the Wendy's and that very identifiable is maybe like 2 generations ago Wendy's prototype with that curved mansard. And so we looked at, what are the bones that are here? What do we need to take away, just in general for safety, having that void where the coolers are in the back corner now. We have to get rid of that. So as we're looking at that, we're creating scars in the brick. Matching that brick's not going to make sense. So, we did try to, patch that. Any of the brick coming in, same bond patterns, go with what's out there. But introduce the Fifth Third. They do have gray palettes within their prototype. So we tried to bring that in without bringing all of the other branding elements in there. Another key element to Fifth Third is what they call the jewel box corner, which this building lends itself to pretty nicely, is all of the storefront. It's a very retail forward look to that branch for the standard branch. So that does have an awning, a fixed flat panel metal canopy that's over the standard prototype. So we've introduced that to give you some more shadow line on the existing windows. Again, as they mentioned, bring in the grid lines onto that mullion pattern onto the existing kind of expansive storefront that's out there now. Looking at the drive-through that's out there now, it deviates from the rest of the building in terms it has the kind of a hipped roof on those drive-through canopies. So what we've done is embrace that to continue the metal, the flat canopies that we've got in the front. Didn't really make sense as we're trying to create a more covered entry to what's now the main entrance of the branch. So we've taken the idea of where we've extended the hip roof over the canopy, the drive-through canopies, and introduced that as the angled roof as an infill there at the main entry. And that allows us to span that full entry and give us a lot more cover. Any questions in terms of architecture? If not, I'm pass to Brett on the site.
Your rear window, is that what it's going to look like? The window for the drive-through?
The drive-through window?
Is it just a,
Going wrong. Here we go. So there's not a drive-through window. That is just a night drop. Everything, there's no deal drawer. So there would be a vat tube on the outside lane. The ATM will be through wall.
And the vat tube has a TV. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that rear door really won't be utilized. We've added that canopy less for water protection. Anybody coming in and out of there, security-wise, it's something's really wrong if that door is being used. So that's just to add some more interest to the rear end of that rear elevation.
Okay.
Guys have a good packet here.
About the canopy over the drive-through.
Yes.
And because when you look at a picture, you don't get the real perspective of how wide something would be, but on the drawing, it looks like that would fully cover the second car.
It will not be, it's about 6 feet out over there. It's
Okay.
enough to give cover at the ATM.
Okay.
But it's not going to be the full width of the car.
Okay.
And that's what most banks do.
Yeah, and one of the reasons we do that is we bring it back for that bypass lane for fire truck routing.
Got it.
as well.
Okay. Any
I
other
have an
questions?
unrelated question, but I'm just curious, so what is the planning of, I thought banks were getting rid of their physical structures of banks, but
Not from
it's
what I'm
not.
hearing. So we're pretty heavy in the banking industry, and it's there's a lot of banks going up around our footprints anywhere from the tip of Florida. A lot of banks going across the country right now. I know Fifth Third's been definitely trying to make a stronger presence here in the Atlanta.
And you are seeing a reduction in overall teller lanes. I mean,
Yeah.
back in the day, you would have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teller lanes. Now we're 1, 2, or 3. And like, for instance, we have one pneumatic tube and one ATM. Other banks are just doing ATM, ATM, ATM.
Mm-hmm.
And so it depends from bank to bank, but.
So I guess
overall-
it's more that you don't have as much presence as some of the regional banks where they're cutting their number of branches.
Oh, well, no.
Yeah.
And
Fifth
getting
Third's
rid of them,
Fifth Third's
so-
a smaller bank that's growing.
Right.
As compared to Bank of America that's going down, or Truist, and who, consolidated and are closing branches.
Right.
And
Yeah,
from a
just-
code, from a muni code, local code standpoint, one thing that we see in a lot of jurisdictions is some folks are still holding on to a 5, 6 car stack in the drive-through. And all the traffic studies that we do and the internal studies within the banks, probably more of a 2 to 3 car stack.
Right. I'm just curious. Interesting.
Well, we don't
Very
go-
nice that
we
you
don't
come
use
to
the banks we
Milton.
use our
Yeah.
phone.
The fact that we've had several come through, the repurposing of these
Right.
old and existing and somewhat dilapidated buildings, I think is a smart idea. It's also, I'd rather see that than new buildings kind of come up, at least to kind of revamp and I think bring what Milton wants and kind of.
That is the desire up and down Highway 9.
Yeah,
is to
right,
revitalize
just,
that area. Like
you know.
what happened with Jim and Nick's, what's happening with
car
California Car
wash.
Wash, and now this. These are
Caribou
all
Coffee.
Yeah, these are all
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
All good ads.
So with that, any more questions for the applicants? No? Okay, I'll open public comment real quick.
We have none.
I'll close it real quick. Discussion amongst the board? Okay. At this time, can we make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Fifth Third Bank 13794 Georgia Highway 9, the review of site, landscape, and exterior building plan for the proposed bank.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys.
Nice job.
You even had the board too,
They can't fully prepare.
you know? This is a nice packet. Good job, guys.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
It's a huge upgrade.
All right. Moving on, that is all of our reviews and approvals for tonight. So let's move on to item 8A, new business, and that is proposed DRB meeting schedule for 2024.
Yes, so before you are dates for our DRB meeting next year. Just want to have the board take a look at the proposed dates. In the past, we have not included like the deadline for demo and building. So this is something that, I'd like to add it to help applicants know as far as timeline. 42 days prior to the meeting for demo, and then 25 days prior to the meeting for building site landscape plan review. The reason for the demo, that 42 days, which gives us time for advertising. So that covers that. I'm not sure, January 2nd.
It's
Is
the only
that
one in
something?
question probably, right? That's a tough
Well,
one.
I was going to say January 2nd, but then also April 9th. Change due to Fulton County School spring break. Okay, so the spring break, I guess, is the week before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right,
The rest will be changed due to a holiday.
okay.
January 2nd is not, I mean, let's just move that.
Well, the reason it was because, typically DRB is first Tuesday of the month, so that's why
Would there
it
be a
was
conflict
put
to
in
move
there.
it to either the
A
10th?
Wednesday?
Move it to
Let's
that
see,
Wednesday?
is it 10th or 9th?
The 9th.
I believe Tuesday.
Well, excuse me, or the 3rd, right?
The 3rd is city council meeting
Oh,
Yeah.
because they're not meeting on the 1st, they're meeting on the 3rd.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me.
Come on, you guys are boring. You don't do.
Well,
anything
look,
on
so,
New Year's.
But it could not be moved to the 9th or the 10th?
I guess from my perspective is I'd love to make sure that we have a quorum, especially now with
Correct.
with the 45-day, the fact that if we can't have a quorum and someone has to wait 45 days and then
Right.
they have
Yeah.
to wait possibly
Yeah,
another
yeah.
30 days, I just
Well, I
don't think is.
too,
And that
It'll be interesting
January,
to see how many new
board
members
members.
might be sat, because technically
And-
you're assigned, a member doesn't reassign you, or the new council person doesn't reassign you. There could be new people coming in, everything. So maybe pushing it a little bit, maybe
the 9th.
a good idea. And that way they can be sworn in if there are new people
Okay.
Wednesday for the following.
that makes sense.
Plus, for packets getting in the last week of the year, you'd think you could give them that at least a little bit,
Yes.
right? You wouldn't think a lot of people are submitting packets the last week of the year.
Well, December, we
Well,
probably
for
have,
15605.
He will be.
He'll be here on the 3rd.
Count on that.
We're ready on the 3rd.
To that point is I hated to put them in that position, but I wanted to make sure that we were clear about that because
Yeah,
you guys
I mean, if
found
they're-
that, so it should have been on their site plan, correct? But it was not, so,
That's what it is.
okay. Okay. So other than that, is there any other objection to any of those dates? Okay. So then I guess need to make a motion. So, I'll make a motion to approve the Design Review Board proposed meeting schedule for 2024 with the change from January 2nd's DRB meeting to the following Tuesday, January 9th,
that's correct.
2024. Okay.
And there's no other board meeting that Tuesday?
BZA, I believe it's on the 16th, which is the 3rd.
It's
Yeah,
the 3rd,
Tuesday.
so it would be the following. It's kind of
Yeah.
like this time where it's going to be BZA's next week because, so.
And do you think that's going to be enough time? I mean,
It is what I mean, just like the BZA's next Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay.
I think your suggestion was good. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 schedule with the moving of January 2nd's meeting to January 9th.
No, I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Was there any more new business?
No, that's all.
Do we have any more new business for the board? Okay. Item 9, old business.
Oh.
We did,
Go ahead.
sorry, we did, Mary wanted to bring up about the demolition 13325 Arnold Mill.
Yes. I drove by and the houses, chicken house, the shed, they're all still there. And I know that we had a condition that said 30 days after. There might also be an update about the condition. They said they wanted to keep the front part of chicken house number 2. And I think Jackie has an update on that, the condition of that as well.
Okay, just to give you a brief update of the status for that demolition. So just a little history, the applicant submitted the demo permit application for review on September 15th. A correction notice was provided to the applicant in October or on October 2nd. This correction notice contains feedback from plan reviewers. And at the same time, code enforcement and building staff members met the applicant on site to assess conditions of the shed and a portion of that chicken house as shown on the screen. If you recall, one of the conditions for that property is that after demolition, code enforcement staff will investigate the remaining structures, the 26 by 35 length shed, and the 40 feet by 53 length front portion of chicken house number 2 for structural integrity. If they are safe for use, those structures can remain and do not need to be demolished. So here's the findings. Staff investigated this remaining structures and determined they're not safe for use. And I'm gonna hand out the determination letter. So that determination letter came from the chief building official. Read it for the record. So determination of the building official dated 10/17/23. This document constitutes the official determination of building official of the city of Milton managing the Milton Code of Ordinances. Compliance pursuant to my site visit to ascertain safety and code compliance at 13325 Arnold Mill Road, Milton, Georgia. The property has multiple structures, including a single-family dwelling and several apparent storage utility structures. Currently, all are vacant and in states of substantial disrepair such that all are not habitable, occupiable, or usable for any intended purpose. Structural member failures were observed to the extent all the structures are deemed unsafe, and the property is hereby declared to be a public nuisance by this office. So it also shows there what section of the code. So based upon these conditions and the powers vested in the office of building official of the city of Milton to make such determinations, the owner are hereby directed to abate the non-compliant and unsafe conditions at the property as required by the city of Milton COO by demolition and or repairs within 30 days of receipt of this notice, and to obtain the required permits and approval as may provided by the city of Milton COO to facilitate such remedial scopes of work. So that's the content of that letter. And the applicant was made aware of this. He was there during that meeting on site. And so I actually reached out to the applicant just to check the status after, receiving this letter. The applicant decided to demolish all structures on the property. So with that said, we asked the applicant to update the site plan to include all of that, plus to address all the comments from staff reviewers. So that's where we are right now. I'll continue to check back and see if there's if the site plan is ready to be for us to review again, and finally release or issue the permit to demolish all the structures. So he is not coming back, I guess, next year to show, the proposal for the building. So all the structures will be demolished.
So even though code enforcement said this needs to be demolished because it's an unsafe building, then he had to come in front of us for us to approve it to be demolished. Then we said, yes, demolish it. You have 30 days to do it. And then Gary goes out, takes a look at it, says from 10/17, you got 30 days to do this. But until you guys issue that demo permit, he has 30 days after that?
After
Is
the
that correct?
permit, yes.
Okay.
I think the delay is just because he needed time to address all the feedback. there's certain things that we're requesting from the site plan that he has to show. So right now he's working with his engineer to give us the accurate plan.
Accurate
Site
demo?
plan.
The site-
Demo plan, sorry.
But is there not something in and this is probably not for us, but is there not something in the code that says if code enforcement tells you to, then staff fast tracks it, get this thing down as it's a unsafe and unfit structure for,
We can check into that.
Yeah.
maybe that's something for Doug later on, but
There's something 32-202 in our code, and it might,
Buildings, probably.
okay, and it's talking about demolition, and it's talking about something that's unsafe, uninhabitable, a danger, which these things are. But it says in there that that would go before council. So my question was, how does that differ
Right.
from what we have here?
I can look into it.
Okay.
That's fine, yeah.
I'm just for my own understanding of
Yeah.
what would just be a straight demo and what would go to council because it's unsafe and meets these criteria. That's all.
or even court, right? I do believe anyway. Okay.
So the 30-day,
So from
The-
the issuance of the demo permit.
which won't happen until he submits an accurate site plan.
So
But
what
there's
prevents
nothing
him?
There's
Well,
nothing holding
from-
him to getting the site plan to you in a timely manner.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
There's
that.
nothing holding him to getting the site plan to you in a timely manner.
When I spoke to him this morning, he is ready to submit the plan. So, which is today, but I have to check if that really happened.
Mhm.
At
So I
what
think at
point
this
does,
point,
at what
code
point does code
enforcement-
enforcement start fining somebody for something?
Any other city, this thing would be in court right now. Anyway,
And it, because it's on Arnold Mill, it's very visible, which unsightly on somebody decide to live in it, so.
I mean, I just think personally, not to beat a dead horse, but if we're gonna make someone who builds a playground structure in their backyard go through months and months and months of review and architectural review and neighbors' approvals and stuff like this, that something about an unsafe structure should be streamlined,
Or for unsafe structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that would be the consensus of the building official, so. Okay. Any
Thank
more
you for
old
the update.
business? I have one. I just want to say Doug will not be here next month.
I will not. I'm out of town.
And so I just wanted to thank you, Doug, for your time and service on the design review board. I know you're moving up to bigger and better things. Don't forget us on the board here. And,
I don't even know what that means.
but
I might be sitting in the same seat actually, which is
interesting. Just keep his name tag there.
Yeah.
But thank you again for what you've done for Milton, for this board and helping us and just wanted to say congratulations. So
Appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been fun. I mean, I've learned a ton from being able to be on this with you and really enjoyed working with city staff, which has been awesome. So thanks.
And to that, the packets and the where these things have gone since I've started has been amazing, and you guys have done a great job. So
Great job.
Thank you for
Great
job,
Jackie. Liz,
keeping us
fantastic.
all in check.
In
so.
check.
Okay, seeing no more old business. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye.